Chapter 4, Lesson 5, Compare Properties of Functions. You will be able to compare properties of functions. Solve the following problems. A zebra's main predator is a lion. Lions can run at a speed of 53 feet per second over short distances. The graph below shows the speed of a zebra. Compare their speeds. So here we have that lions can run 53 feet per second, and this graph tells us what the zebra can run. So what we need to do first is we need to figure out the rate at which it runs. So we need to find the slope. Slope equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Pick 2 points. I'll pick the first 2 points. 118 minus 59 over 2 minus 1, which equals 59 over 1, or 59. So the rate here, or the slope here, is 59 feet per second. So in order to compare their speeds, we're just going to jot down a sentence or two about them. So we can start by saying that a zebra can travel at a speed of 59 feet per second, which is faster than a lion traveling at 53 feet per second. There are several different ways you can word this, but that's all it's asking you to do. Letter B. A certain car has gas mileage of 22 miles per gallon. The gas mileage of a certain sport utility vehicle, or SUV, is represented by the function shown in the graph. Compare their gas mileage. So this is for the SUV, and this is for the car. Again, let's find the slope. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I'll choose the first 2 points. 38 minus 19 over 2 minus 1, which is 19 over 1, or 19. So this is 19 miles per gallon. So now let's write a sentence or two comparing. So let's say that an SUV can get 19 miles per gallon, which is less than the car, which gets 22 miles per gallon. And that's it. You're just comparing. Letter C. The function m equals 140h, where m is the miles traveled in h hours, represents the speed of the first Japanese high-speed train. The speed of a high-speed train operating today in China is shown in the table. Assume the relationship between the two quantities is linear. Compare the functions y-intercepts and rates of change. So this time we're not only comparing the rate of change like we did in A and B, we are also comparing the y-intercepts. Well, right up here is the high-speed Japanese train, which already tells me what the slope and y-intercept are. The slope is 140, and the y-intercept, there is none, so it's 0. So now we need to work on the train rate in China. First thing we need to do is find the slope. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And I'll use these 2 points. 434 minus 217 over 2 minus 1, which equals 217 over 1, or 217. Now this time I also need the y-intercept. So I'm going to use my point-slope formula. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Y minus, I'll use this first point, 217 equals, my slope is also 217, times x minus 1. Distribute, y minus 217 equals 217x minus 217. Get y by itself. We end up with y equals 217x, which now tells me my slope, which I already knew, is 217, and here also I have a y-intercept of 0. So now let's compare. Let's make this a little smaller. So we can say the y-intercepts are both the same because after 0 hours, 0 miles have been traveled. Now their slopes, their speeds, we can say the Japanese train travels at a speed of 140 miles per hour, that's our slope, which is less than the Chinese train, which travels at, our slope this time was 217 miles per hour. So that right there answers the first part of the question. The next part, if you ride each train for 5 hours, how far will you travel on each? So we have both equations, let's just plug it in. We'll start with Japan. The formula, or equation I should say, the function for Japan is m equals 140h. Our hours is 5, so let's plug in 5. M equals 140 times 5. M equals 700. So now let's do China. Our formula is y equals 217x, where x is the hours. So y equals 217 times 5. Y equals 1,085. So we have China and Japan. And these are both miles. Letter D. The number of new movies a store receives can be represented by the function m equals 7w plus 2, where m represents the number of movies and w represents the number of weeks. The number of games the same store receives is shown in the table. Compare the function's y-intercepts and rates of change. So this is games, and I'm going to use G for games. First of all, let's look at our movie function. My slope is 7, which is the rate of change, and the y-intercept is 2. let's figure out for games here. First thing we have to do is find the slope. We can use our formula, m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. We'll use our first 2 points, 6 minus 3 over 2 minus 1, which is 3 over 1, which is 3. Let's use our point slope formula. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. We'll use the first point. Y minus 3 equals, our slope is also 3, times x minus 1. Distribute. Y minus 3 equals 3x minus 3. Get y by itself. Add 3 to both sides. Y equals 3x. Okay. Now we are talking about games and weeks, so I'm just going to change this to be games equals 3 times the number of weeks. So that's our formula for games. That's our function for games, which tells me that m equals 3 and b equals 0. So what does this all mean? I'll write it over here and then we'll move it out of the way. So we can say that the movie function has a y-intercept of 2. Let's make this a little smaller. And the game function has a y-intercept of 0, which means the store started with 2 movies and 0 games. The store receives 7 movies and 3 games per week. Okay. So that's our comparison. Now the second part of the question. How many new movies and games will the store have in week 6? So let's take our functions and plug in 6. So movies equals 7w plus 2, which is 7 times 6 plus 2, or 42 plus 2, or 44. Games is 3 times w, which is 3 times 6, which is 18. So the store receives 44 movies and 18 games. Letter E. Angela and Benjamin each have a monthly cell phone bill. Angela's monthly cell phone bill is represented by the function y equals 0.15x plus 49, where x represents the minutes and y represents the cost. Benjamin's monthly cost is shown in the graph. Compare the functions y-intercepts and rates of change. First of all, with Angela, the slope is 0.15 and the y-intercept is 49. We don't have to do anything with that function yet. With Ben, the slope we have to figure out, and we're going to use our slope formula to do so. Slope equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Use the first 2 points. We have 72 minus 60 over 120 minus 0, which is 12 over 120, which divides to be 0.10. Now, the y-intercept, I could plug into the point-slope formula like I've done before. However, I have a graph this time. I can actually visually see that my y-intercept is 60. So the slope is 0.10 and the y-intercept is 60, which means the equation is y equals 0.10x plus 60. Now let's compare. Oops. We can say, let's make this a little bit smaller. Angela's y-intercept is 49 and Ben's is 60, which means that Angela pays a smaller initial cost than Ben. Okay, now their rates of change. Angela pays 15 cents per minute, which is more than the 10 cents per minute Ben pays. So the first part is always comparing the slope and y-intercept, or whatever they ask you to compare. So that's our first answer. Now for our second answer. What will be the month cost for Angela and Benjamin for 200 minutes? Well, we have both of their equations. Here's Angela's, so let's start with Angela's and plug in 200 minutes. Y equals 0.15x plus 49. Plug in the 200. .15 times 200 is 30, plus 49 is 79. So far, we know that Angela pays 79. Now Ben, we know Ben's equation is 0.10x plus 60. So plug in the 200. 0.10 times 200 plus 60, which equals 20, plus 60, which is 80. So Ben would pay $80. So this is your answer to both questions. Letter F. Lorena's mother needs to rent a truck to move some furniture. The cost to rent a truck from 2 different companies is shown in the table and the graph. Which company should she use to rent the truck for 40 miles? Well, let's start with Crosstown Movers. We need to figure out what the slope is. So let's find our slope using our formula. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And they give you 2 points here. So our slope equals 45 minus 35 over 30 minus 10, which equals 10 over 20, which is 0.5. Okay. Let's use our point slope formula. Or actually, we don't have to. We have a graph. Our y-intercept is 30. So I know the equation here is y equals 0.5x plus 30. So that's the equation. Now over here for Ron's Rentals, we could find an equation, however it's unnecessary. We are only concerned, we are not comparing the y-intercepts and the rates of change. It strictly wants to know for 40 miles. So we're skipping that first step and just answering the second question. So 40 miles. Well, I can complete my chart and figure it out. Let's find the pattern. The pattern here is plus 10, plus 10. The pattern here is plus 25, plus 25. So if I were to extend this chart and add 10 again, this would be my 40 miles. Over here, add 25. This would be the $100. So I know that the cost for Ron's Rentals is $100. No need to find the equation. So now let's go back to Crosstown Movers and find the price for 40 miles. In this case, I'm actually going to plug it in. We'll do it down here. Y equals 0.5 times 40 plus 30. Y equals 20 plus 30. Y equals 50. So the cost for Crosstown Movers is $50 for 40 miles, and the cost for Ron's Rentals is $100 for 40 miles. Which rental company would Lorena's mother choose? So let's jot something down to answer the question here. So let's write down everything we know here. Crosstown Movers, again, let's make this a little bit smaller. Okay, Crosstown Movers would cost $50 for 40 miles, and Ron's Rentals would cost $100 for 40 miles. Lorena's mother would choose the Crosstown Movers. Crosstown Movers because it's cheaper. And that's all we would have to write for that question.